Welcome to Let Me Be Clear. My name is Ignacio Rodriguez, Principal Architect at IR Architects. We are a luxury design firm that specializes in custom residences here in the city of Los Angeles.
Alrighty. I'm here with the man, the myth, the legend, Ignacio Rodriguez, one of the top luxury home architects in Los Angeles. It's always a pleasure.
Awesome. Yes. Kevin, nice to be here for sure.
But today I'd like to kind of dive in to a few different topics around luxury home architecture, around how you guys design, kind of how you budget for contractors, how you actually break ground and what that means and some of the moving parts, as well as ownership decisions and their roles and responsibilities to the build. So let's dive right into, what does design mean and how do you guys go about it?
Yeah. So, right, the process of designing a house, it's quite overwhelming when you kind of think about it. When you're first getting started, it feels like, oh my God, there's so many decisions. And so the way we always like to explain to clients is let's slow the conversation down a little bit. Let's talk about your lifestyle. What is it that you want? How is it that you live? What is it that that would make your house, so to speak? And so we start to write down all the needs and wants of their house, and that's called a program. And so the program in many ways kind of writes itself depending on the size of a house. If the house is 2,500 square feet versus 5,000 square feet versus 10,000 square feet versus 20,000 square feet, you can't put 20,000 in a 2,500. Like, it's just not going to happen. And so, we basically start with, let's identify the size of the house that you would like to have. Let's identify everything that you would like to have in this house. And then let's talk a little bit about the wants, the cool stuff, right? The stuff that would make your house very unique or very special to you. And that's actually when you start to have some fun, when you stop thinking about just closets and bathrooms and bedrooms and start thinking about like, well, I personally have a hobby of baseball. So I have a glove wall. And so then you start incorporating those like unique elements into the design, and it starts from the beginning part of the project. And so we basically sit down with clients, spend about an hour and a half, and then just write this whole program down.
What's that process look like? Are you guys just asking them questions through conversations? Do you give them like a bunch of questions to answer? Like, what is the flow?
Yeah. So for us, we just have a conversation, and I'm just literally sitting down with you, just chatting about your house. I have an internal dialogue and a set of questions that I have internally that I'm going to ask you. But when we've done it in the past where we put it in a spreadsheet and sent it to them, it then becomes like you begin to overthink the conversation so much that you can't even move forward. Right. And so I also break it down like it's like a Christmas list, right? If you don't put it on the Christmas list, it's definitely not coming. But if you put it on there, it still might not get there, but it might. You just don't know. And so that's kind of how we start the conversation. And, I like to walk through, like if we're walking through the front door, do you like to, wear sweaters and jackets when you leave the front of the house? Or are you not that person? You actually go out of the back of the house into the garage. How do you entertain?
So you're taking them through the journey of walking through the front door and, basically exploring the house before it's a real thing.
Exactly.
Right?
Like, would you like to see a double height ceiling? Do you have a piano, like a baby grand? What kind of a seating arrangement do you like to have? How do you like to entertain? Do you ever sit at a bar? Do you see yourself drinking with your friends in your living room? How, do you work from home? How would a home office work for you if it was, if this was your ideal space? How would it be? Would it be part of the living room? Do you want it to be totally separate from the hallway? And just literally space by space, we're having a digital walkthrough of your house on how you would love to experience your property.
Right. And as far as IR architects goes, what do you guys do that is different or stands out, that is kind of that wow factor that, ultimately gets you guys more clients?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. So one of the biggest things that I like to do is keep my circulation very simple, keep it very clean. I always love to see through the front door and see like a big destination in the backyard, which means I'm not going to put a wall in front of your door when you open the door. Um, and then we love to have like nice big open spaces. I feel like in today's world or in today's time, people congregate around the kitchen, the family room, the bar, nice big TV, and then we want to go outside, especially in California. In Los Angeles, you really want to go to the outside of the space. So we tend to do these really oversized windows and doors that open up to the backyard. And it makes it so that it feels very natural for you to be inside your house and outside of your house and like in the moment's notice without having to open a door or go past the threshold, so to speak. And so that's one of the biggest items that we do. And I think you see it consistently through all of our projects.
For sure. So I saw one property. It had beautiful open space. There was moss walls. I think you know which property I'm talking about. But it almost felt like the house was like a living, breathing organism. What was kind of the inspiration behind that?
The architecture that we like to design, we call it a warm, organic, contemporary home. And so what that means is that it's going to be in the warm color tones. So it's not going to feel like a museum. It's going to be organic. So it's going to have these organic elements, plants inside, moss walls, very rough cut stone or unfinished travertine, where it feels very raw and very comforting. Our floors don't tend to be very shiny. They tend to have a gold sealer on them so that you can really see the grain. You can feel the grain. We like to really feel the textures of the house. Our marbles are finished in like a leather finish. So when you touch the countertop, you could feel the veins in the marble. And so those are those elements that we're always looking for in the style of architecture that we do, whether that be contemporary or transitional. I think that's a kind of a common theme in all of our designs.
For sure. And at what scale does it start to get a little bit more technical where you can start to add more of the wow factor? So I guess pricing or square footage or whatever.
Yeah. So what's interesting actually is, so at the 4,000 to 5,000 square feet, you can start to kind of flex your design muscles. But the problem is it gets pretty expensive because there's no economy of scale. So you start to get the economy of scale after like 12,000 square feet. 9, 10,000 going to 12,000. That's where you actually start to see that you could put some really cool wow stuff in this house and it's actually not tremendously expensive.
What are some examples of that?
Yeah, so like on the staircases, right? Like your typical staircase in one of our houses at least tends to be around 100 grand, 75 to 100 grand each level.
This is for the floating staircases.
Yeah. So exactly. So you do a floating staircase and you have 2 levels, with so it's $100,000 on that staircase, but the house is only 4,000 square feet. It's a pretty expensive staircase. Whereas you do that staircase on a 10,000 square foot house, you still only need 1 staircase, but suddenly that staircase cost relative to the size of the house,
right,
it gets absorbed and it doesn't feel so expensive. And that's what I mean by economy of scale. Because the items that get expensive in homes are kitchens, bathrooms, cool staircases, bars, anything that has like stone, really high-end finishes, appliances. That's the stuff that's expensive. In general, a bedroom with drywall and wood flooring, it's not that expensive. But it's those kitchens and bathrooms and dirty kitchens and double laundries and all of that fun stuff that starts to add up.
Yeah. When clients give you the creative freedom to kind of use your artistic abilities, what are some things that get you excited? Is it the bathrooms or is it the basements or the garage?
For me, the items that get me really excited are entries. I love to conceptualize myself, visualize myself walking into this house. What's the first thing that I'm going to see? How do I want to feel when I walk in? Do I want to feel the space? Do I want to feel the volume? Do I want to see the destination? Do I want to showcase a beautiful art piece? Do I want to add like a beautiful tree inside the house? So it feels like, yes, you just came from the outside inside, but you start breaking those boundaries down by having those trees and that plant life inside of the house. I love those moments. In basements, we do a lot of basements. We love to do these beautiful entertainment lounge spaces where you get to, you know, you get to really explore the act of partying or hanging out in your house.
Right.
And what does that mean? That means like you have card rooms and pool tables and cigar lounges and golf simulators. And now the golf simulators are being used for baseball. So they're actually more like hitting stations inside the house.
Is that with hit tracks?
Yes.
Nice.
Yes. And so you could really work on your mechanics. You could see your launch angle. You're inside, so you're fully temperature controlled. Indoor gyms and wellness centers where you have a beautiful, infrared sauna, massage rooms, gyms that open up to the exterior so you can really get that air. A lot of times when you work out in like commercial gyms or in hotels, they're always
muggy.
sealed.
Yeah.
There's no outside. And it's a gorgeous experience to be working out where you're getting like natural air and it feels like, you're kind of outside, but you're fully indoors.
Right.
And so through different light wells or different courtyards that we build off of the gyms. So we're always looking for those wow moments. And then, you're going to have your great room. The great room's got to be special. Bar's got to be really cool. I like to see the bar as like your second space to hang out next to your kitchen. Because I think a lot of times, like for me, I like making drinks and hanging out with people at my bar at least. And it's always kind of a fun experience and everybody's hanging out. And so I tend to centralize the bars in the middle of the house and try to make the bars multi-purpose, multi-space.
Right.
So they service two spaces. They could always serve as your like serving, like a serving area where you could set up appetizers and stuff like that. So those are the kinds of things that we're looking for or I'm looking forward to designing.
For sure. I'm sure that there's new stuff that comes out constantly or new interest. Is there anything that's hot right now that people are starting to think about?
Well, I think one of the biggest items that we've been seeing more and more is the appreciation for cars and really building in these really cool car garages where you can basically display this car that you have. And so a portion of the garage is for like your daily drivers, right? That sit up, stop, and you don't need to display those. But then the other portion of your garage is where you have those cool pieces. I don't even know if it's luxury. I think it's just like a passion.
Right.
Like you bought this, 488 Pista that is super unique and it sits in the garage and it's awesome. And you could jump in that thing and drive it. Like we can drive it right now, right? And so we've been doing a lot of car turntables, car elevators, and then just really finishing garages through and through, putting stone finishes, really cool lighting, glass partitions so you can see inside. Because then, if you think about it, that garage now becomes an extension of your hangout space, of your living space or your entertainment space. And those garages are not small. They're anywhere between, 800, 1,200, 1,500 square feet, 2,000 square feet. Now you suddenly opened up your house to this garage. It's a pretty awesome experience.
That's awesome. What are the main differences between typical like residential design and, the next level of luxury that you guys do?
Yes, so that's a great question, right? So we've been designing some homes in Altadena. And so what's the difference, right?
And is that homes that were impacted by the fires?
They were impacted by the fires, yes. And but at least the ones that we're working on, they tend to be on the smaller scale side, 2,500, 2,700 square feet. And so why does a client with a house of that scale come to us? Well, they're looking for that really amazing experience of like beautiful grand entrance, a amazing great room that flows naturally into the kitchen, a great office with great views, um, and then an amazing master suite. At that scale, that's kind of all you're going to
Right.
get, an amazing master suite. And so that's what we're spending our energy and our time on, is identifying those items and then really designing them so that even though the house isn't 10,000 square feet, it's a super cool 3,000 square foot house.
Right.
And I think clients are loving it for
sure. And where did you start as far as designing homes, and what was it like designing your first like mega house?
That's a great question, right? So yes, I think that for me, I always try to visualize not just the architecture, but visualize myself as the client entering this house. That's why it's always really important for me to meet clients and see their energy, see their vibe. What are they about? How do they go about, walking this earth, right? What is it, the things that they love to do? And then I then have to, and it takes me a while to get my mind clear, but then I clear my mind and I get in their shoes. Like, what am I looking for? Like, this is how they like to entertain. Some clients, big house, they're like, no, we're only going to have a few people over. Great. It's a very different approach than a client, smaller house, I'm going to throw a big old rager here. Like, okay, that's totally different, like approach, different parking scenarios. How are we going to get like, the valet service to come in here? In some houses, we even design DJ stations.
Yeah.
So that the DJ it's like your barbecue / DJ spot. So your DJ could hook up, pre-run wires so they could put speakers. Like it's a whole unique experience, house tailored specifically for each client's lifestyle.
Absolutely. How old were you when you designed your first, I don't know, maybe 15,000 square foot house?
Oh, I probably was in my mid-20s.
Yeah.
And it was, it took me, I want to say, before I designed my first house that we actually built, I designed many houses that never got built. Wrapping your head around a 15,000 square foot house feels like, oh my God. Like, what am I going to have? Like 15 bedrooms and 20 bathrooms and, but the reality is, no, it's the same program. Everything just scales different.
Right.
And so, like we're designing a 15,000 square foot house. It's still 6 bedrooms,
right?
With an office, and so the scale, it's the same program. Everything just has more space to breathe, different experiences as you go through the house.
For sure. Were there any nerves designing your first, I guess, mansion, for lack of a better term?
No. I mean, maybe. I don't remember.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing for me was in designing my first house wasn't really designing it. I've known I wanted to be an architect since I was a child.
Right. So you've been visualizing this for your whole life.
This is like, dreaming of being a baseball player and you finally get a chance to get on the field. Like, dude, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Right.
And you've always thought the big ones, the big properties?
Not necessarily. I just love to design custom homes. And what I mean by that is like, really architecturally forward thinking spaces.
Yeah.
And so that's always what I'm really interested in, is just the space, the experience.
Right.
Hence why my hands move around so much. Because I'm very visual. I'm very, I love the context and the site and the experience. So like even how I walk to my front door, I love that experience. So that's just comes natural to me.
So earlier you mentioned you have conversations with clients and you get in the zone, right? And then it kind of all the pieces start to put together in the puzzle, right? What does getting in the zone look like for you? Is there anything that you do specifically that gets you there?
That is a great question. Yes. So for me, I have to turn off my email 100%. And then I sit down and I just kind of listen to some music, and then start to like try to get myself in that vibe of that client, whatever they're trying to do. And so it usually starts, even when when I meet the client, I'm getting a feel for how they want to occupy the space. Like I'm looking for a space that's super serene and calm. Great. I'll start watching like videos of like really calming sounds like at the beach in Bali, like really calm, natural, like birds chirping, natural landscapes, and just kind of clearing my mind so that I can set some goals as to what I'm going to be designing. And so again, it's those targets of great. If you're looking for something very, very calming, so I'm going to want to have some kind of a landscape entrance when you walk into my house. I'm going to have something that starts to set your tone, set your energy in that right vibe so that when you enter the house, you're very calm.
Right.
Versus like somebody's like, I want a club. Great. Totally different vibe.
Start to put on the EDM music and get in the vibe.
Exactly. Well, that and then like, great, like perfect. So that means people are going to be walking down. Kind of want to have that dungeon feeling, where you're going into a basement or like a cellar space. And then, you want to see your focal points. You want to make sure you can see the DJ. Like, it's literally just getting yourself into that space so you can do it. And so that's my approach.
For sure. I love it. Yeah. Something you mentioned too is your chair.
Yes.
I've seen your chair, like zero gravity or something.
Yeah, it's a gaming chair, and I have like a special footrest and a special keyboard setup, and it allows me to just stay super comfortable. One of the biggest things is sometimes when I start designing, I can design for like 10 hours, 12 hours, 15 hours. And so like, what does that mean? That means I have to be able to sit in that chair that long and be 100% comfortable. So shouldn't have to get up to stretch, shouldn't have to get up to do any of that, be in total like comfort. And again, I think it's getting into that zone, that mental zone of being 100% like visually in the house of what you're designing.
Right. Going somewhere else, going there.
Exactly.
For sure. Yeah, I think some of those things as far as, the music or the chair, the zero gravity and putting yourself in the owner's shoes is something that is unique. And I think for anyone that does things in the creative landscape, it's valuable to know what works for you.
Yes. And it's just kind of getting into that trends and like really feeling it, because then you're just in the house. Like for me, I'm inside of the house, and my hands, like I can draft and I can draw without having to look at any keyboard or anything. I'm just creating at that time.
Is there anything that you do that is not correlated to the actual design? Maybe it's prepping for client meetings for the first time or anything that kind of gets you in the zone?
Actually, what sometimes we have a lot of projects going on when I need to clear my mind, going out to the baseball diamond, going out with the boys, really disconnecting from what I'm doing on the construction side, super helps. Go out, catch some bullpens, hit some ground balls, go hit in the cage for a little bit, watch them hit, give them some tips, and then you come back and like your mind is totally clear. Yeah. You're ready 100% to create.
So you're a big baseball guy, and how is baseball, the game of baseball or sports in general, or even your kids playing it, how has that impacted the direction of our architecture as far as inspiration or getting in the zone, et cetera?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I love baseball. Baseball is like my space to relax, to clear my mind, to separate from my daily life, my daily work. And so baseball for me is just where I go to meditate. People make fun of me when I go to the baseball fields. I always bring a glove.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to play, right? And they're like, everybody's 10 years old. You're not getting on the field. And it's like, I love just like grabbing the glove and like feeling it in your hand with a baseball inside of it. And it's what allows me, it provides peace to me. But I can tell you this much, I can't design while a baseball game is going. I cannot.
You're too invested in the game.
It's too much going on.
Yeah.
And I cannot go into this world because I am 100% hearing what is happening there. And so baseball is like chess, and it's like a big puzzle, right? It's like putting all the pieces in the right place so that you can hopefully succeed and win. I think that's kind of how architecture functions in many ways, is grabbing all the pieces that somebody wants and organizing them in a way that flows and it goes good and you got good rhythm. And when the house has good rhythm, sometimes I ask Lauren, like, hey, how does the house feel? How does it feel? And it's interesting. She's learned, like, I don't understand. I'm looking at a drawing. What do you mean? How does it feel? But it's like, how do you progress through the house?
Right.
Does the entry feel good? Does it transcend you into the next space like super nice and easy? Does it flow really well? Because that's the stuff that like you can't quite measure, right? It's
For sure.
it's how it feels.
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like a lot of successful businessmen and women have some sort of avenue to be able to lock in and focus on nothing else. And it's, around sports or racing cars or skydiving or, whatever it is. And it seems like it's something that's valuable to have in your back pocket to escape, right? But also hone back in.
100%. And it's what allows me. Lauren, my wife, will tell me from time to time, like, you need to go play some baseball.
She knows.
Yeah, she can feel it. And it's like, it just helps you clear your mind.
I love it. Well, wow, these are some super valuable insights on, what the design process looks like. And, even more importantly, like how you get in that zone as an artist, right? It's more than just, running a company. You're a visionary, and, it's pretty interesting how all those things connect.
Exactly.
Next episode, probably dive into some of those other topics and keep the conversation rolling.
Perfect. Sounds good.
I love it. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Kev.